Welcome to 10 Minutes with Tony Scott. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Today's show is brought to you by Gentry Academy in Blaine. On today's show, we will have Megan Stone from Gentry in studio to take a little closer look at the academic and leadership side of the school. Also on the show, we'll talk about the t-shirt I'm wearing to honor Peter Harrington of Mounds View. But before we get into the show, let's talk a little hockey. On Sunday at the Independence Classic, several teams took home some hardware. We saw two championship games. The 03 Blades beat Miracle Gold in a shootout, and the 01 Finlandia Hockey Club out of Thunder Bay took out X-Pro 6-2 in their championship game of the 01s. In other games, other champions were crowned as well. 07 Tommy Chicago's, 06 the Machine Black, 05 Euro Red, 04 Precision Hockey, 02 Machine Black, and in the 99s, Map South won the hardware there. Today we sat down with Megan Stone from Gentry Academy to talk about the academic and leadership side of the school. Here's that interview. We're joined today with Megan Stone from Gentry Academy. Thanks for coming in, Megan. You were a big hit the last time you came on the show. Appreciate you having you back on the show.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the academic side at Gentry Academy. One of the things that I always like to talk about is when I was growing up playing hockey, my friends and I were really competitive, not just on the ice, but in the classroom. And we were talking about a little bit, that's what's going on over at Gentry. Talk a little bit about that.
It is. We have a group of very competitive young men, and they're very good at hockey, and that's a great part of our school. But our main focus really is academics and leadership. And at our school, it's cool to be smart. And they are very competitive in a positive way for encouraging each other to do their best, which doesn't always happen in other situations.
No, it's harder. I'm guessing it's an athletic thing. It doesn't just mean they're hockey players. They could be basketball players or football players. They're just born to be competitive. And that's a real good environment for you as a teacher.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, and that they want to push each other to be their best academically. You know, when we had in February, we had our Love to Read month, and it was a competition to see who could read the most minutes. And they were on it. I mean, we had kids that had read over 1,000 minutes in the month of February. And some of those kids didn't like to read before. And now one of them told me, it's my secret passion to read.
Oh, that's awesome.
To be able to encourage them in something that will carry them for the rest of their life. I mean, the lessons that they learn in hockey, they'll carry with them the rest of their life, but their academics and their leadership, that's gonna open up even more doors than their athletics.
A lot more doors. Okay, so let's talk a little about when a door comes closed. We talked a little about this off camera. A kid gets a C- or below,
Yes.
no ice.
They
love
aren't
it. I love
allowed,
this. All right.
Yes, so if they get a C- or below on a quiz or a test, they are off the ice. So the teacher will pull them. Obviously, a parent will be notified of that. And then we have a room where there's a licensed teacher to be helping them with that information. And we really want to spend a set amount of time with them. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be however long it takes for that child to master that skill. And then they're back allowed on the ice. And that's clearly explained to the coaches. Every coach encourages that. We want them off the ice so that they can build the foundations to know, you know, if you make a mistake, it's okay. It's not necessarily the mistake you make, it's what you do right after. Are you gonna run away from it? Are you gonna pretend like it didn't happen? Or are you gonna own up to it and learn how to become the best that you can be?
This probably dials into some of that leadership as well.
It definitely does.
Leadership, you have to accept responsibility.
Yep, that's the core of all leadership is ownership.
All right, so last thing, let's talk a little bit about some fun stuff that the kids do in a very educational way. You talked about this NHL draft that the kids put on. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I helped to develop the math curriculum as well. And so I thought it would be really fun, and the rest of the teachers as well. Instead of just doing paper and pencil out of the book statistics, we thought, why not bring in some life skills and why not bring in some hockey? So in the fall, early winter, we had an NHL draft, and each child was given a team name, and they were required to buy their players. They actually had to learn how to write a check and balance a checkbook, and they went through, and once they finally got their team, they had to, on a weekly basis, keep stats on that team. And there was a winner and loser each week, and we dealt with life skills, managing money, the stress. I mean, it was a stressful environment. It took us 4 hours for the draft, and that was a really good lesson of what if you don't get your player? What if you don't get what you want? How are you gonna readjust? They had to spend a certain amount of money, just like in the real draft. And it was a great lesson overall of life skills, stats, and just overall competitiveness in a positive way.
When I was there on one of my tours last fall, we talked about this draft because the draft had just happened.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me how stressful it was for the kids when they found out how much a player was worth and how much a player wasn't worth, and they
Right.
disputed it, and
Yep.
they basically had to learn the lessons of the player's value and how a player's value goes up and goes down and fluctuates, and it was just a good lesson for them probably in life as well.
Well, and now even talking about probability, what's the probability that that person will get a better contract the next year, and talking about real life instead of just this paper and pencil and the trick of math, and how does that translate, statistics, probability, even adding, subtracting in everyday life. It's so important to make it not be just a trick, but have it be real life, because that's what, education really is all about.
Right. All right, well, thanks for coming in today and filling us a little bit more on the academics and leadership part at Gentry Academy. I'm sure I'll see you around the rink as well.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Always great to catch up with you and learn about what the kids at Gentry are doing in the classroom. Last week's Tommy Chicago's trivia winner was John Fisher from Inver Grove Heights. John was the first of several who knew that Ryan McDonough of the New York Rangers was the nephew of former Cretin NFL star Steve Walsh. This week's Tommy Chicago's trivia is going to be a little harder. It came to me today when someone asked me who Wiz Wyatt was. When I described him, he then asked, where did he play high school hockey? The first person to send an email to youthhockeyhub@gmail.com and tell us where Wiz played high school hockey wins dinner at Tommy Chicago's in Mendota Heights. Over the next 2 weeks, YHH will be generating its list for this fall's Pee Wee Challenge. 85 players at 3 separate levels will be invited by YHH to play on June 1st. The event was a blast last year. Just 2 levels and Bantam Elite Championship. This year we have 3 levels and the Bantam Elite Championship, with all 4 championship games played back-to-back at Bloomington Ice Garden. As you can see, I'm wearing my Pray for Peter t-shirt. Peter is Peter Harrington from Mounds View. 2 weeks ago, he was hospitalized and put into an induced coma with bacterial meningitis. Peter is still hospitalized. His condition seems to be improving every day, but please keep praying for him. This shirt was given to me by Eric McCabe. Eric's company, Shirts Unlimited, is making these shirts and distributing them to individuals and teams. They can be located on the web at www.shirts.com. That's shirts with a Z.com. We will also continue to share links via Twitter as well. Cost for the shirt is $20. All the proceeds go to the Peter Harrington Fund. Tweet of the week. Sometimes I roast myself, sometimes I roast my wife, but this week I brag a little. Last week, during Game 7 of the Rangers Cap Conference semifinal, I chose Matt Niskanen and Derek Stepan for the Butrigas Overtime Challenge on Twitter. I tweeted those two, and obviously, as you know now, I choose a Minnesota connection. Thank you to Hastings Derek Stepan for helping me to win my first challenge win. It felt really good to finally win, and I'm going to brag about it. Tournament invites. We are slowly sending out tournament invites to teams for our 4 big winter tournaments: the Big Pumpkin, the Blue Ox, the Founders Cup, and the YHH Squirtacular. If your team is interested in an invite, reach out to us via email at youthhockeyhub@gmail.com. This week's Boom Roasted goes to people in our Minnesota audience who think we invented the game. Sure, Minnesota puts a lot of kids in college and pro hockey, but it's not as many as you'd think. Sure, we have the best system in the world that produces great hockey players over and over, but we have never generated a superstar, trade the franchise type NHL player yet. So it's time to take off the rose-colored glasses and take a pill and wash it down with some reality juice. We are Minnesota nice, which in hockey terms means we got a lot of nice players, but none that are Pat Kane or Duncan Keith. Thumbs up. Thumbs up to Minnesota Wilderness on winning the Robertson Cup this weekend, beating the Austin Bruins to win the NAHL, and the Sioux Falls Stampede on their series win, and the Clark Cup winning the USHL. A lot of nice players from Minnesota on all 4 rosters. Thumbs up to them. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Keep battling, Peter. We're behind you. Hope to see you and everyone else around the rink real soon. Have a good day.